everyone, and have a great Saturday. Today is a special day because we got the first podcast, team podcast with a team of the F.A.T.E. At first, let me introduce the team of this podcast. So we will be talking about the current mindset in the crypto community and try to really dig deeper into the things. And secondly, I want to really thank the team of the F.A.T.E for joining us today. And I will handle the word to the leaders that's going to speak up today to introduce themselves, a bit about the project and the role, and why did you accepted the invitation to such an event.
Yeah, so my name is Wesley Long, or otherwise known as Gilded Czar. I'm the lead developer for the F.A.T.E project. We also have, excuse me, excuse me, I'm sorry. We also have Vlad here, who's the community manager of the F.A.T.E ecosystem, and I don't want to use this as an opportunity to shill our own project necessarily. I feel like we should just probably get into the topic. But what I will say about our project for now, and people can look at it on their own, is we're really focused on building tools and utilities that help you decentralize yourself, that help you take control of your intellectual property and your digital assets, what you do on social media, your personal data, and all these things, as well as your finance and your payments. And we're developing all these decentralized services that kind of let you handle all these different and manage all these different aspects of the internet. But I really feel like with what's going on right now, I mean, this is a really great time for us to have the conversation that we're having, because there's a major shift happening in the crypto space, mainly because of the markets and the whole bear market, and everything is down right now. That's causing a lot of panic and a lot of fear and a lot of just discussion all the way around. So it's really a good time for everybody, all projects, to kind of look at themselves in a mirror, look at their strategies, and that goes for both investors and for project owners. We all need to figure out how to get through this.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for the introduction. And as you've touched the bear market, yes, like it is the tough times for everybody who's in crypto, but both stocks. It's been tough. It's been long, and we are all kind of frustrated. And this leads to some of the bad decisions, kind of shifting the mindset. So, guys, how do you feel about the bear market, and how it could affect yourself and your kind of the primary group in the crypto? So let's take a bit more look on kind of what's the effects of the bear market, and how do people act different?
Yeah, so and I think one of the things we need when we talk about the bear market, and we can't talk about it in a vacuum. We have to understand that we are part of a global economy, and although crypto does seem to be the I guess the easy target for a lot of people in the global economy to point at and say, that it's crashing, when everything's crashing. There's nothing that's isolated from the effects that's occurring to the global economy. Whether we're talking about the supply chain, whether we're talking about the pandemic, whether we're talking about the war, there's just so many elements of society that's literally at a boiling point, and crypto is just one of those elements. Now it brings out a lot of like I said, a lot of fear, a lot of panic out of people, a lot of emotion, because their finances are wrapped up in this, and we're talking about the livelihoods of people potentially, their ability to protect and feed their families and things like that. So it's bound to create chaos. But it's important that all of us, like I said, both investors and project owners, we have to kind of keep our eyes on the road and not let the panic basically corner us into bad decisions.
This thing is felt like both in crypto and the traditional stocks. But if we compare, like, it is looking like the S&P is kind of much more stable and the Bitcoin is fallen. Well, why does that happen? Well, we need to really look around and look what's happening in the space. So this is very different times. If you were in crypto, for example, like in past year or two, there was big euphoria. Everybody was happy. But now the times changed and people are losing money. And this, of course, in natural shifters mind. So what we can observe right now in the communities, like what's your idea on what's different now?
I mean, I think the major difference is that people, as they should be, they're finally becoming a little more skeptical about what they invest in. And it's unfortunate that it took a crash like this, and a global economy crash like this, including the S&P. I mean, yeah, the stock market may, in some ways, you might be able to say that it's more stable than the crypto market, but I actually think that they're both pretty volatile. I mean, the stock market has been volatile for years. I mean, it's not like the stock market is without manipulation and without any of the problems that we deal with here in the crypto space. I would argue that most of what we see in the crypto space is a consequence of the inspiration of the stock market. Um, so a lot of investors and projects are inspired by the stock market, and that's why we there's so much that we share in common. Um, and why it hasn't been able to kind of decouple from the stock market, because you're playing by the same rules. So as long as we kind of try to attach the same rules and structure to the crypto space as the stock market, I mean, we can expect to see similar patterns and behaviors. I think the biggest thing for all of us is that we just have to shift our strategy, and we have to be more skeptical about what we invest in. We have to look at projects as businesses, as actual businesses, and not memes and jokes and just get rich quick tokens. We have to look for business plans. Like, is there an actual business plan? Forget the tokenomics. This is something that we touched on in our first conversation. Forget the tokenomics of a project. It's, can a project make money on its own 2 feet without the volume or without the trading of some token?
This is why I kind of touched the whole kind of both. We can say there is a correlation in between the BTC and S&P, but I feel strongly about the belief and disbelief in the community. And currently we saw, for example, of course, like always the bear markets are looking for the like easy targets. So we could see some Ponzi schemes to fall down, something like Luna, free AC, Celsius, and this may be pumping the disbelief more into the community. And we are kind of starting to question, like, if the current projects are kind of, let's say, safe or not safe,
Viable.
or like
Yeah.
like what's the real what's the real thing we should look for? Like, is it hype, or is it the utility at first that brings out the revenue and all the let's say product in the space? So this is really necessary to now distinguish the bull market, where people are not looking for something like this, but in this bear market, we are kind of doomed to these thoughts, like, and question things. So this is a perfect time for the podcast like this to talk about the things and really gets deeply into the problem. So how do you feel about the current trust issues in the crypto space, and how we may see that affecting people, and both like the price of the Bitcoin or whole the crypto and total market cap around? Like, what's your ideas on the issue?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think trust is something that's been lost. There's been a lot of trust lost, and that is not from the bear market. That's from the bull market. That's from the recklessness of both investors and project managers or owners. Launching just shit projects and rugging them, scams, just the sheer volume of just bad actors, and that's caught in lack of accountability by people. This has created an environment, just a toxic environment, where we all kind of chant that we're part of the community, but really we're all shanking each other and stabbing each other in the back the moment we get the opportunity. So trust is kind of corroded to nothing in a lot of ways, and I feel like the only way forward is for us to really ensure as investors. Well, there's two parts to it. For investors to ensure that they look for only viable projects, right? Projects that actually have a business plan, projects that can actually make money on their own without the trading of a token. That's where the bread and butter is going to be at. When we find actual use cases and actual products and services built on the blockchain that people want to purchase and buy and use. From the owner's perspective, or from a project owner perspective, we have to be more accountable as developers and owners. We have to make ourselves available to answer tough questions. We have to stop labeling people FUD, right? These terms, paper hands, diamond hands, FUD, FOMO, all these things play into the narrative that's creating the toxicity that we're talking about. It's pitting people against each other.
Yeah, like maybe we touch kind of the whole legitimacy and the things to projects. Like we can see a lot of those Ponzi's and such falling down quickly. Like it's the times when even the biggest companies like Coinbase are cutting, firing people off. So we need to look also for the perspective as we are running the projects, how to save up and at the same time not hurt the people. So it is very tough times, but it leads to some sort of questioning the whole scheme. Also from a perspective of an investor, if I join some community, for example, like right now there is a lot of FAT around about simply everything, and people start kind of making irrational decisions. And I think as a whole crypto community, we should much more focused how to be rational, how to bring again the trust on the table, and at the first and foremost, how to be viewed from the third parties and also economists, the whole world, as something that's not just about hype and dumping the Dogecoin by someone, don't want to touch the name, but that there is some real technology around, that there is some real ideas around that could help us living better. So this is very hard, but I think this is the first step how to get both out of the disbelief and this kind of bear market that's struggling all the markets, but it always stems from a people, and people are both good and bad.
Yeah, well, the problem becomes, when people are working for their own bag, they kind of lose sense of whether or not the project there is, or what they're shilling is truly viable or not. And it becomes more about helping them cash out. Again, it goes back to the whole fact that each of us have our own kind of different strategies on what success even is. We all put into a project with different expectations of what we expect as a return, how long that's going to take. All of these things are different for every single person that's in the community, and there's no coordination or communication to kind of help people get there, right? It's just kind of everybody kind of fends for their own, and you're shilling your bag, and you're trying to make sure that you can get out and get your profits. It doesn't matter what happens to anybody else. And as long as each of us are going into projects and investing in that with that kind of mindset, I feel like we're just damaging ourselves, right? We're not solving the problem, and we're not helping the community actually be a community.
Yeah. So maybe let's dive into the situation where both the investor, kind of community member, and also the project owner focuses on just the bags and something that's like whole cash or money and a quick deal. A lot of times we can see the opportunists all around in here in the crypto space. But what this leads to is something that it is a Ponzi itself, but we are driving that. Like we cannot be focused on developing the project and at the same time like earning some income of something that I know that is not sustainable. And this is for both. Like if I am an investor, just an opportunist, and I am willing to sell everything on the first pump, then it leads to a whole differentiation in between the investor side and the side of the opportunist. So, like, what do you think about this kind of differentiation? Are are there more opportunists, or can we see some, let's say, good souls of the investors that actually care about the project and hold their holdings because they invested to that they believe the team, the whole roadmap? Like, this is very hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard as a real business too. I mean, real businesses struggle with the same problem. Most businesses that start out fail within the first 3 years, right? This is the
Yeah,
reality in the quote unquote real world. It's not easy starting any kind of venture and getting it out there and having people use it and pay for it. The crypto market kind of because of the hype of everything, it kind of misled people and lulled people into this fantasy where they could just make this magic free money so quickly. And then it just becomes this feedback loop where you're shilling your bag and the next guy's shilling his bag, and nobody's really paying attention anymore to the actual viability or sustainability of what they're investing in. They're just chasing that chart. And they
true.
chase it all the way down. It's like a
Yeah,
game of chicken with money. And it's again, without the project itself having any kind of accountability, having any kind of real plan on how to actually make money and survive outside of trading. Because if trading volume is all you have, then you're not a project, you're not a business, you don't have a plan, right? You can't rely on just the money of others for any project to move itself forward. The project has to have its own legs. It has to be able to walk on its own. Adding the
yeah,
token or the tokenomics to a project that's already sustainable and viable, that can be a really great thing to bring in a lot more participation and have a bigger community of people with shared interests and values.
yeah. But
Um,
imagine that you are coming to a crypto community as a newbie, as a new person trying to really dig into, and now you are looking through the YouTube. Well, we know how the YouTube looks. We may drop a word later, but let's say that not all of the information are necessarily true on YouTube, and should be, let's say, presented with some sort of decentness. So let's say someone watch YouTube and wants to invest to such a project. Then they join the Telegram groups, all of the lounges and such, and then they see the community in a way. And the way is constructed by this whole system of the hypes and pumps, and
mhm.
it creates a whole kind of society where with an open mind, it is very hard to fit. So how can we try to narrow this vision and to get through this, and how to again be rational and kind of look for all of the aspects that can lead to a success as a project and as an investor, not to only look for some cold channels to pick up the hype and the pump that it drives, but also for something like fundamentals. What's the backers of the project? Who are the owners? What's their experience? So how can we focus on changing this whole scheme, because it seems it's already set in stone and it's very hard to do something with.
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's like everybody's using the exact same playbook for every project, and it's like we're watching the same thing happen over and over and over, like Groundhog's Day, right? Every
Yeah,
project is the same. Every project is the same deal. They do the round of AMAs. They have their
true.
pre-sale. They have their pump. They have their dump. It's like the shills, the coin market cap, the coin gecko. I mean, it's all the same plays. It's
Yes.
so the definition of being psychotic is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. You know,
Yeah, yeah, but
we
it's true that's happening.
that's exactly
It's
what we're doing. We're beating this
yeah,
play like it's a dead horse, and we need to switch up our strategies, both as investors and as project owners. One of the things, and again, I'm not trying to shill our project necessarily here, but one of the things that I think distinguishes our project from many others is the fact that I have put myself on the line. I'm literally on VC every day, all day, for 285 plus days straight. I make myself readily available for anybody at any time to answer any question that's there, or to deal with any situation. You know, if you're a business in the real world and you expect customers to walk in the door, you have to be open. You have to be there. You have to show up to the office. The crypto space is no different. And the sooner people realize that, the better off we're all going to be, right? You have these developers that, either rarely show up or once in a while, the owners and developers, they make it hard for people to get the answers that they want. That's what largely leads to a lot of the distrust that we see, right? People don't know what to believe.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
there's no accountability. There's nobody stepping up and telling people the facts. How no matter if it's good or bad, right? It's
Yeah,
just
but
hype. It's all just, well,
still,
we've got this.
it's like very hard because I think the more you are deeply into some communities, the more you feel certain about some sort of behavior and its implications. So, if I, for example, were following some of the channels that are hyping the whole kind of posts and then dumping, then I am joining the Telegram just for the pump, and I immediately leave after the giveaway or anything else.
Right.
So how we can really try to learn people, and we need to fix that. Like, this is not some serious investing, and if we cannot be seen as a serious, we can
Correct.
be we can be watched serious in the eyes of public, in the eyes of legal measures, in the
Yeah.
eyes of the authorities, and also in the eyes of the investors. So
I
how
mean,
can we
it's
focus on the
yeah,
change?
it's going to be a tough change for a lot of people, and it has to come from the projects themselves. The projects need to set the tone, right? They're the ones that set the tone and set the expectation out of the gate. We're the ones as project owners that determine, what to announce, what to promise, what to, and right now, by and large, most people are over promising and under delivering. Um, they don't, they're not even, they're not even showing their work, right? They're letting their community just wait and wait and wait and wait without any kind of updates at all, without any screenshots, without any previews, without any progress that's visible. People are just waiting. And these kinds of things are, they stem from the habits of the project owners and the project management. We as project owners and managers, people that run these projects, we need to set the expectation. We need to do a better job at presenting ourselves and managing those expectations so that the people that do decide to invest, they always have the confidence that they can get an answer to that tough question if they need it. Right? Or
Yeah,
they can always pop onto VC and get an update and find out what's being worked on at this very moment.
yeah, and
Um,
this is like on the spot, because if we are running a project or some sort of community, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have some kind of a token launched out. No, no, no. Every time you are running a business, you are dealing with the communities, and
Correct.
you are dealing with the top-down processes, and these processes are the most important because you
They are.
can directly influence the people. And
Mhm.
if I were a developer or CEO that were just about those hype calls and just posted the gifts into the channel and focus the people to buy the coin just to pump, like,
Mhm.
like, what am I doing? I'm learning those people that this is the right
That's right.
approach, that this is
You're
the
you're setting you're setting the
right
stage.
behavior. Yeah,
You're setting the stage, and you're basically setting the initial conditions for what's going to be the demise of that project. In doing so, right? It's all about expectation and being real with people. Just being real with people. There is no free money. There is no shortcuts. You have to work. You have to put time in. That's how you make money. Um, everything around us in the real world tells us that. Yet for some reason, the crypto space has fooled people in a lot of ways, and most of it's because of these bad project owners and scammers that kind of hype people and mislead people, and people just being, I guess, too gullible, and really just desperate, because you have to be desperate. in my opinion, to ape in $1,000 or $2,000 into some random thing that you've done no background checks on, that you have no way to verify as an actual viable project. Like the quote unquote degen aspect of this space is what we're talking about. This thirst for profit over everything else, and this constant backstabbing of each other when we say we're part of the community. Like we all chant the war chants and whatnot when things are pumping, but then the moment things start dumping, we're pointing fingers at each other looking for who to blame. Right? Yeah. When we're all part of the same mess, and we all have each other to blame equally, because we're all playing into the same system, and we're all perpetuating that forward by shilling it to our friends and family and people on social media. By the way, we're doing that without even using our real names, which in itself adds this whole element of distrust to the entire thing, because now it's very hard to hold people accountable.
Yeah. Like, this is the whole another aspect to, like, the project owners and the way how we can start up the project. Pretty much, if I wanted to, I could create a Telegram group, Twitter handle, get some website on the Fiverr and start up a project. This is like really wrong. So maybe the whole concept of the DeFi, of some sort of anonymity behind all those transactions and the chains, maybe there should be some sort of let's say certainty over the project owners, or like, for example, here in Europe, the people in Brussels, smart heads, they want to have like every transaction docs, so they know who sent to whom by ID. Right. But that's the whole another discussion. Like, do you think it is a good idea to have the decentralized world really decentralized as a whole, or shall we have some, let's say, borders, at least for some entities, or toward the community and the ones who's entering the space?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great topic, because we're talking about what's essentially what kind of regulations we're going to see, and because the whole KYC aspect of this is a reckoning that's coming for all of us. Like, you can't, like we can't expect anonymity to be so absolute, right? Yes, it's important. Your privacy is important. Yes, you should be able to transact and make payments and deal with your finances without any middleman. Does that mean you have to be anonymous? No, it doesn't mean you have to be anonymous. We should have mechanisms in place to catch bad actors. That's going to require, us being able to track whether or not you are an individual person, and whether or not your identity has been validated in some form or fashion. Now, does that mean that the whole system gets access, and that your ID is public for everybody to see, and everything that you do is public for everybody to see? No. It just means that on the systems that you interact with, like if you want to buy something online, you have to give them your shipping address. You have to give them your mailing address. Otherwise, you don't get that product. So for a lot of these things to work the way that we talk about them working down the road, for everybody to be on crypto and everybody to be using crypto as currency, to buy things, people are going to have to use their names. If you want to ever pay your power bill or your mortgage one day with crypto, you're going to have to use your real name. So this illusion that we can all live in this bubble and not use our real names and hide from accountability and transparency is going to burst. And this bear market potentially could be the trigger point to make that starts to make that happen, because the governments are looking to regulate. The governments are looking to start their own digital currencies that have a lot more restrictions and limitations on them than we see in crypto right now. And if we don't start acting right, they're going to impose things on us that we don't like they always do.
Yeah, like maybe this is the thing. Like, we are living in a world that when I want to, for example, buy something or just using my credit card, I am always doxxed for every transaction. the government can know like where I paid from, for example, some dinner or anything.
Right.
But like, is it sustainable to have some sort of a whole another world in the current society that stands on decades and decades years of some sort of a practice, and that we know that it works some way. So we are trying to experiment with our anonymity and the whole accountability for all of our doings. And to be honest, I think if you are a good person and you are trying to follow the rules and being ethical, there is no problem being doxxed or
That's
kind
right.
of trying to be transparent in your doings.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that are trying to hide got some let's say misconducts in their cupboards, and like some really misunderstandings on both like what's ethical and what's not. So it stems from a people. So I think it's really important to focus on this aspect, because people are trying to discredit all of these sorts of labels. This is crypto, and this is altcoins, and this is
I
Bitcoin,
hate that so much.
And like, this is a
Yeah,
business, a real world. This is not real world, but it always
it
stems from the
is.
people that run it.
Listen, everything that's happening in the crypto space right now, it's happened before in the real world. Again, the inspiration for everything that we do in the crypto space comes from the real world, right? Right down to the yield farming and the staking and the loans and all these things. We're trying to build and match financial tools that have been available to bankers and big businesses for 700 years, right? The banking system and the finance system has really not changed that much since the Knights Templar. And when you think about that, it's staggering, but it's true. Yeah, they've digitized and they've modernized and they've gotten better at keeping their hands in their pockets, but essentially it's the exact same thing, right? It's a system that's tilted toward the rich and powerful and shifting wealth away from one section of society to another. And now we've got a kind of the distributed system that we call decentralized, which gives everybody the same tools that banks have access to, essentially. That's a game changer. However, with that comes a huge responsibility, right? Because up to now, if something goes wrong with their money, you call the bank up and they fix your problem. Here, there's very few people to call. You're kind of you're taking control of your finances and your money. But if something goes wrong, or you send to the wrong wallet address, or you don't protect yourself and you log into the wrong website, and they take all your money, there's really no one for you to call. So we need to be more responsible with this. We need to be more accountable. We need to do the right things to make sure that people can put their trust into projects. Because otherwise, the regulation is going to do it for us, right? The laws that the government creates are going to be determined based on the actions that they're witnessing right now in the crypto space.
Yeah, and like, people in crypto especially, they are viewing, or at least let's see, a big portion of them are viewing all of the regulations as something that's evil, that's like pure evil, trying to narrow all the focus of the crypto. But no, like, it is here because we learn from the past, from the society doings, and it is due to protect the people, the community, the society inside. So it is not necessarily something wrong. We can still have the idea of the decentralization, but we need to have some sort of a certainty that if I will erect token XIZ, I will be accounted for. Like, for example, today I was reading a discussion in the crypto hideouts, and there was a guy, I can't remember the name, but I'm always checking the lounges and trying to get some sort of a knowledge about things. And they were talking about a guy being erect last year. He delivered like 6 or 7 complaints to multiple government sources and agencies towards the person that tracked. And he said that he had all of his information, but nothing happened. And wonder why? Because right now we are in the time where everyone is complaining about the losses. And if you see the losses, then of course I will be complaining against someone. But we, by this whole space, we need to be sure that we are focused on something that's in between both the real world economy and trying to be mindful in ourselves in order to check, like, of course, if the price dumps, is it necessarily something that the project owners did wrong? No. And the same time, like, if the price pumps, is it necessarily something that the project owners did, and it is their whole, like, let's say, the world of this kind of scheme being tied to a chart? No, we cannot be tied to a chart, but we need to watch the whole story about the project. So as I'm diving deep into the projects, maybe let's talk about what we can do as both the community members, but also if we are the project owners or CEOs, how can we push forward the work that is needed in the
Yeah, I
space
mean,
and in the community?
it's going to come with checks and balances, right? You said something earlier, how something to the effect of, the governments became the way that they are because we as a society have learned through trial and error, trial by fire, how this economy kind of needs to work, and there needs to be rules. Clearly, there needs to be rules, because when there's not rules, then there's complete chaos and blood, and people just don't respect each other. They just, it becomes more about just greed and nothing else. And I think when we talk about, what can we do to clean up the space, it starts with checks and balances, man, on both sides. And what I mean by that is, again, setting higher expectations and standards that, on and requirements for what a project even is, right? We consider anybody, they put up a quick website, write a quick white paper, slap it online, start a Telegram, and boom, they've got a token. It shouldn't be that easy. It literally shouldn't be that easy. There should be a process that you have to work through in order to even get to the point where you may possibly be able to launch a token. Like, it shouldn't just be open-ended where anybody could just launch a token. There needs to be checks and balances in place. But
Like, for
verified.
example, I've read the papers from the European Union and what they are trying to push. And it is basically that your transactions are going to be doxed by your IDs, that you are using some sort of either DEX or especially the centralized exchanges. And there is the other thing, that they are trying to issue all of the project owners that are above either 2.5 million or 5 million market cap mark, and that you need to deliver all of the papers that you are a company, that you are paying the taxes, and like everything rest needed for the project, like resource, how you are using the resource, what's the tokenomics, what's the vesting. So this is something different. Like, from my point of view, it is not necessary to have every transaction doxed, but at least those who are trying to push the projects, yes, then they should deliver the information about the creation of the company at least. And also, of course, it cannot be shared like a free way online. You need to have some sort of decentness out there. So you need a paper signed by either lawyer or other side that this is the information that is correct, and it is assigned under some sort of database in the government space that you are based in. Yes, but like, I don't feel like there is necessary to have the each transaction doxed. what you're thinking of that.
Yeah, I mean it's a hairy situation because there are cases where you would want to make sure that everybody using the system is a good actor, right? I'm not even talking about money laundering or fraud or crimes either. I'm just talking in general. You want to, like, as a project, for example, if you're a project owner or you're managing a project, and you're the one that's doxxed and you're the one that's name is on it, like in my case, for example, right? You can be attacked. You're vulnerable to attack by people that you don't know, right? By people that you don't, not only do you not know, you don't know what their intentions are, you don't know what their strategies are, there's no communication at all with them. They might not even be part of your group. And yet they can run your chart and cause your project such chaos or havoc that you don't even understand.
True.
So it's not as simple as just, one side doxing and the other's okay. For there to be an accountable system, we all have to be accountable. There's no, just the project owners or just the users. We all have to kind of contribute to the same system that holds us all accountable. And that's easier said than done, especially when everybody wants to be completely anonymous. But another thing that you mentioned a few minutes ago, which I think is a big piece to this puzzle, is the way that we calculate these market caps and the way that the pricing of these companies and projects is being dealt with. When we see huge market caps, that's what drives people. They're not even looking at the liquidity, right? Like they're not even looking at the liquidity. And that is like that's the biggest indicator of whether or not a project is a scam or not, is what the liquidity is like. Because, if we really expect to have a financial system where people could just buy and sell and spend money and do all these things, there has to be strong liquidity. Clearly, these projects that have no liquidity can't that's what's creating these huge pumps and dumps. It's what effectively is allowing people to rob each other, right? Is because there's such a huge gap in how much money is backing up whatever price you're saying that your token is worth.
Yeah, and also like there is what I'm thinking right now, like there's a huge gap in the knowledge of each individual investor. Let's call everybody who has their money in crypto an investor, even it is wrong. But
right.
If we are watching and looking those investors acting and about their knowledge, like can we invest in stocks without some sort of a knowledge, or at least hiring up someone, the broker, who will buy the stocks for me and handle them? No. And this is the gap exactly what we are trying to.
I think you lost you. You get cut off.
Oh man, might need to reconfigure the mic or hop in and hop out real quick.
Yeah, no, the education aspect of crypto investors, it's the key factor to what drives those markets in the insane pump and dumps and insane roller coaster rides that we see today. Because we spoke about communities, we spoke about government trying to get involved with regulations and whatnot. But one small aspect that, which is a big aspect that we kind of missed, it's marketing. Somebody enters the crypto space. They have no idea how to invest, what is Binance, how to put their money into their card, how to use crypto. But they invest in crypto. They join the crypto space. Why? Because they heard some friends saying, hey, you can make $10 million by tomorrow. Hey, this coin is pumping. Hey, some influencers are tweeting about this new coin. And what they are tweeting about, they're just tweeting that they're pumping, but are they tweeting about their utility? Are they tweeting about what the project is actually building? So this bull market, a lot of people, there were been a lot of people who joined this space, like a very, very large number, to drive the Bitcoin to 1 trillion market cap and to drive the whole crypto space to 2 trillion market cap. There had to be a lot of volume, a lot of cash coming in, a lot of new faces going and joining into the crypto. And why I speak about marketing, the marketing is the key factor that represents your project. You have no idea who this project is. You have no idea what the crypto projects are feeling and are situated in these markets. So what you look for, where you don't look for utility, you don't look for the white paper, you don't look for the website, you just look for people who are telling you how this is pumping, this is mooning, you can be rich very fast. So people, they don't have patience. They don't have patience to do research. They don't have patience to actually learn how to use MetaMask or how to not get scammed by pressing hacked links or lose their money.
They don't even read. I mean, they literally don't even read the information, and the marketing and all the information can be laid out on a table for them, and they won't even read. Right? I post a lot of information in our group about what we're building and what we're working on and how I'm building. But you'll always have some random that won't read the pin messages, won't go to the website, won't do anything at all to kind of figure out whether or not they've made a good investment or not. They literally won't do anything, and they'll come in and they'll FUD or complain or ask strange questions because of their lack of commitment to even protecting their own ads, essentially. This is your money you're putting into something. You should be willing to put in a few minutes to check something out, and ensure that you're putting your money in the right place.
What I was talking about when my mic shut down, this is kind of differentiation in between the stocks and the crypto. Like, if you want to enter the crypto, you don't need to hire a certain broker that will let's say manage your holdings. No, and that they will let's say with some sort of decentness again advice on your holdings, what to buy and what to not. Well, whatever, we are usually investing into some funds that are like sum up of some firms or companies that got some future. But whatever, in crypto it is like Wild West. You can enter, you can invest your money in whatever you want, even if it is like a hype or pump and dump or some real project. You don't know. And mostly these times people like enter the space and they are emotional right now. They are emotional. They are driven by their own core that they are either wrong, super wrong about something, or super good about something else. So this is really an opportunity for us, the project owners, especially, how to interact with the community and trying to be sure that the community understands what's the concept behind, because most of the times, especially, we did the marketing as well because it summed up as a good idea. But to be honest, if I were watching that with some sort of perspective, well, it was useless. It was completely useless, because in all of the AMAs we've done, and we've done 8 AMAs in one of the biggest communities out there, I won't name, but still we did them. And most of the people join because of the giveaway and not because of what we were talking about. And this is kind of the point. Like, I want my community to be driven by what I'm trying to build, and that what I'm trying to build is something that got the base of the price getting appreciated by the product, by the whole revenue model. But how can we learn the people that are coming to the space and they are really new buys and don't even have some sort of knowledge about the whole stuff? We need to, I think, as a project owners, we should have some sort of accountability, personal accountability for that, how you run the project, because we are not in the real world. We are in the crypto, and we are dealing with different people that are coming to space. And this is like some sort of a personal fight that I love the decentralized world. I love the anonymity. I love the idea of being some of the society trying to do things differently. But guys, we need to think, if we want to be global, we need to be driven by the society, and the society is driven by different things. So guys, let's focus on how we can do the things differently, because it is really, really the burden right now, and we feel it hard because the trust issue is there.
And I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, we as project owners, we set the tone, right? We set the expectation. You know, so when we put down what it is, our vision is, and what we're building, that's what we're selling people. So if we sell them on, you know, this, you know, when Lambo and to the moon, and that's the message that we really push, you know, that's sending the wrong message, and it's driving the behavior, the bad behaviors that we're talking about. It's one of the driving forces of that. The other part that you can't lose sight of too, that we haven't talked about, is when it comes to a bear market or these crashes or corrections or whatever you want to call them. You know, and in the same time, we want more people to use crypto. We want mainstream adoption. We want the world to adopt cryptocurrency. Okay, we have to understand that nothing just goes up and up and up and up. It ebbs and flows. And in fact, the only way that Bitcoin goes mainstream, or that all of crypto goes mainstream and becomes globally used, is for these corrections to happen, so that more people are making room for more people, right? I mean, nobody's buying Bitcoin at $70,000, or very few people are going to be buying Bitcoin at $70,000. I guarantee you, there's people that are looking right now and licking their chops at the price of Bitcoin, that really weren't considering necessarily investing before, right? Because the correction is allowing for more people to join, right? So that's kind of a natural aspect to just markets and economies that needs to happen. There needs to be a cyclical nature to it because of that. Because as new things emerge and as things permeate through the population, it needs to contract so that it can onboard more people. Because otherwise, the price is going to become too expensive too quickly, and you're only going to have a very small percentage of people that are able to participate. So we have to keep that in mind as well, right? And we have to take our focus off of these charts. Too much focus is put on these charts, right? As project owners, we have to drive people to the information that we want them to see, right? If we put all the attention on the charts, then that's where everybody's going to go. That's where all the expectations are. You know, if we set the price so that the liquidity is 5% of the market cap, and we've got a $6 billion market cap, well, we know what's going to happen there, right? At this point, we've seen enough to know what's going to happen under most situations with how these projects launch. I mean, you can go look at almost every chart of new tokens, and they almost all look the same. They have the same pump and dump, pump and dump, pump and dump, and then whatever happens after that initial launch, you know, may differ. But by and large, every project seems to have the same start, right?
Yeah, but like, this is the thing, like, can we change the core of people right now that are entering and staying in the space? Can we really learn and teach the people that there are aspects, and like, of course, if I run a project, I do series of AMAs in this and those groups because they are good. They are like viewed as good groups to learn from multiple people. But yes, you are running the AMAs and they are all the same. There are same questions, and only a few AIM launches, like Anti-Raggers United, I must say, they are very good. They bring the actual, let's say, knife on the table and try to hedge with the owners, like, okay, guys, like, we can see that you are a gamified project, okay, but there are a ton of gamified projects. So what's your revenue model? And this is the thing, you know, like, this is why CZ are tweeting about, okay, prices dipping, but where is the product? And why would you choose the revenue model income and the product for the investors. Like, I am not invested into pump and dump, but I'm invested into product I believe that finds some sort of application in the crypto space both, and maybe in some sort of a better projects in the real world. Like, I hate that division, to be honest. I hate that division with the crypto space and the real world. Like, what is that? Like, we are in the same space, living on the same planet.
Let me change.
Like, this is crazy.
Let me flip the context a little bit on this. Okay?
Yeah, go on.
The .com bubble, right? Which, I mean, that happened in the early 2000s, right? And that was effectively the exact same thing. Okay, I've been designing and developing for quite some time, and I got to witness that. And you had the exact same kind of mean structure to all these new startups that were coming up. The only difference is that it was VC money, venture capital, right? And the VCs were pouring millions of dollars into these random .coms with funny names, right? Nobody would put their credit card on the internet at the time, okay? People were scared and terrified to put their credit card on the internet. Now they'll put their credit card into anything. Doesn't even matter what it is, right? But back then, the internet itself was the very scam that we're talking about right now when we talk about crypto, right? People didn't trust the internet. The internet was the scam. The internet was the fad. The internet was what was going to die. Okay, that didn't happen, obviously, and I feel very much just like that. This crypto space is not going anywhere, right? It's evolving and adapting the same way as the internet did itself, right? Unfortunately, people need to learn the hard way. And I mean, we all kind of recognize that because there's a little piece of that in each of us. Because as kids growing up, we kind of, when our parents tell us to do something, we don't want to do it, or we kind of have a mind of our own and we think we know it all. And eventually, life just beats that out of you, right? As you get older and you experience things, you realize, you realize certain things about life, and you just have to tread carefully, and you have to kind of, and the crypto space is the same, right? People got to learn the hard way, and they don't want to listen and take good advice. They got to do it themselves before they really get it. It's like, you can warn people there's a cliff coming, nobody listens to you. They'll run right off the cliff, and then they'll look at you literally and say, why didn't you tell me there was a cliff coming? And all you can do is say, well, I did, but you didn't want to listen. So it's up to leaders. It's up to project owners. I compare it to sports a lot. All right. It's like when we talk about community, you can think of that as a sports team, right? Only a sports team, like if you want to win a championship, like the Golden State Warriors just did. I mean, you're talking about a team of people that know each other extremely well, that know each other's tendencies, their weaknesses and strengths, and know where everybody's going to be on the floor at any given moment. They work like a machine, like cogs in a machine. And that's what a team is. That's what a winning community looks like, right? That's not what we're looking at when we talk about the crypto space or when we talk about communities. Again, we're talking about a very fragmented strategy where everybody has a different idea of what success even is.
Yeah, as you're talking about the leaders, especially, like we can see some sort of phenomenon in the whole space of the crypto, and it is kind of the channels that are. We will never in the podcast name some sort of channels or so. No, we will talk only in general. But still, we need to talk about the team, so we will use that. So let's say there are channels in the crypto that they are, or they have leaders that they promote this whole pump and dump scheme as something that's acceptable, and also something that is correct. But what if it is incorrect and it drives the whole community and the whole space towards something that is not acceptable? Mm-hmm. What people do then? The only way to fight this is the leaders, and how, especially the community managers, as the Vladimir talked before, you as the community managers, and this is for also for the Lord as well. The task is to get in touch with the community and try to learn, try to, let's say, interact with them on some sort of a level that got some logical idea behind about the crypto, because we can see a lot of DMs, especially if we create a project. There are decades and decades of DMs that I am a hype man, I will hype your community. What is that?
Oh my God!
We don't
Yes,
need hype man.
so many of
Why would
those
I
every
hype a
day.
product? Yes, we have
Yeah.
got the marketing, but what all I need is someone that will take care that there is no toxicity in the community, and that will lead the community toward the idea of the product and the vision that we want to develop and deliver to the world. Because if I'm copycatting some of the other projects, like what I'm delivering to the world, this is not a business I would love to invest. And am I okay with investing into a pump and dump scheme? Like, for example, again, I don't want to name a project, but I'm watching the space like really closely, and there are like trends of those 2.0 versions of the projects, and they are just launching every day right now, and this is kind of the next trend. So, for example, I will say that F.A.T.E is like good project. I will make the 2.0 F.A.T.E and launch it. So I will take the money from their community and then I will rock. Is that correct? Like this is very, very wrong. But the whole community and the leaders leads to that. So
it's funny. It's funny you say that, because that literally just happened maybe about a week ago. We had people joining our chat saying that they couldn't sell. So we asked for the contract, that we asked what contract they were using, because we do have a version 1 which we migrated from. So we wanted to make sure that they were on the right contract address. But the contract address they gave us wasn't even related to us at all. It was a completely different token. This token was being shilled in these call channels, and it had like $40,000 in liquidity that they wrecked and stole from people. Nothing to do with us at all, but it's got the same token name, and they didn't start a Telegram group, so that forwarded all the traffic to our, well, not all of the traffic, I should say, but there was definitely some that trickled into our group as a consequence, right? That's actually something that I think is something that needs to change on a technical level. There's so many technical things that need to change in the blockchain, in my opinion, at this point. But the fact that some of these contracts, these malicious contracts, these known rugs, right? The fact that they're able to just sit there in the open internet, active, it's like a landmine field, right? For anybody to just wander into and buy without any, if they don't know any better. Somehow we have to figure out how to filter that stuff out and turn that shit off. Right? I know that.
Yeah, like for example, yes, again, I will say that there was a community. I was reading the whole story about the rug, and this guy really know the Facebook of the guy, the mobile number, the email, and he got his ID from the KYC service. So guys, we got everything on the table needed for the agencies.
Yeah.
He delivered that to 8 agencies in the UK, and nothing happened. And do you know why? Because there is so much racks and this false misconducts on the table every day that they can't deal with it. They are just sorting it out. There is no leverage out of that. They are simply digging that under and under. They don't care, simply because there's so much of this. And like, why? Because we allow this to happen. Like this is us doing the thing. No, like they are not wrong on their, simply they cannot, because they got no the capacities to do that.
It's
but
like
we are the people.
Yeah, it's like we all got into a pool. We all got into the same pool and started pissing and shitting in the water, And now we're all starting to complain because it's pretty stinky and disgusting, right? I mean, it's a crude way of putting it, but that's exactly what it is. You know, like we've tainted this space at this point, and it's become so toxic that the behaviors that are just normalized now, like "daddy rug me" or "rug me, daddy." You see people saying stuff like that, and it's normalizing this behavior to make it acceptable. It's just crypto. It's just crypto, right? And like you said, the agencies can't do anything about it. Not only because they're being bombarded with such a huge volume of it, but because there's no technical mechanism for them to actually do anything about it, to turn these things off.
Yeah, and
right?
this is the world, like normalized. We allow this to be this on the like daily news sheet, and we are okay with that. For example, if you are watching some of the launches that people saying, yeah, maybe try invest into this low market cap coin, but it is like 80% or 90% certain that it is a wrap.
Yeah. Right.
And they are saying that like it is okay, it is like normal.
Yeah.
This is not normal. This is a robbery, and we need to take care about this.
Correct.
Right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, I have multiple issues with those big AMA channels and those big call channels. Sorry to interrupt. Just something I noticed, and it bugs me out because I see them shilling and calling non-stop small cap coins, and I'm thinking why they are calling small cap coins. You have an AMA, you have a lounge, you ask for like 8 or 10 BNB for an AMA in that lounge, and you keep shilling small projects because it's easier to make money. You are putting your money into that project, or you are getting paid from that project. You're shilling it. It goes like 2, 3, 4x, and then it completely dies. And another factor I actually hate about this is, have you guys seen the word, put money into this project, the team is legit, they made multiple projects in the past? Have you guys saw this term? Like, would you invest in a project that the team behind the project had 10 more projects in the past? I would not, because they all failed. All failed. Like, would you put your money into a project and the owner had like 20 other projects? Like, call channels saying the team is trusted, the team is based, they have experience in releasing projects. Like, are you kidding me?
Like they were base dev, good marketing. Like this
it's a joke,
crazy, guys. This, oh my
it
god.
Is.
Oh
it
my
is.
god, but this is like under every post in those call channels, like base dev, good marketing incoming. What? Like, I'm sorry, like there was a zero word about the project, but it is base dev, trusted dev, and marketing incoming.
The worst part about it is that when they say marketing, they're not even talking about marketing. Like, I think very few people in the crypto space at large even know what the hell marketing is. You know, marketing to them is putting a hashtag on it and sticking it on Twitter. You know, or like it's absolutely mind-boggling. You know, the people there's no creativity at all in the approach to try and actually pitch these products or services or anything of meaning to people. You know, and they call it marketing. You know, just getting listed on CMC or getting listed on CoinGecko or having some influencer fucking tweet, that's not marketing.
And what does that influencer tweets?
Like people are even typing like, we are waiting for a CMC and Siege to happen to dump your project, and people are okay with that because the owners are waiting also with their tokens to dump it. And this is really wrong. And this is why I'm always asking in the call-ups, like, are you guys legal company? Where is the vesting? And tell me more about the supply chart. Because we can see a lot of those marketing wallets, a lot of those vested tokens just coming out of nowhere and simply being sold. Because guys are, this is not about the owners, but this is about the whole community. Everybody is expecting the dump after CMC or CG.
Yeah.
Because it is a pump, so you got your holdings like, let's say, pump and appreciated. Well, okay, but do you know about this project at least a few words from the white paper? No. And
No,
I can tell that with some sort of a perspective. To be honest, we've done almost 50 articles on the Medium page. And do you think like people care about the articles? Not much.
No.
And I'm saying that like we are trying hard to really push the processes in between the communities, and I'm trying to build, but simply people don't read. They need yes.
It takes time and work, and it's hard to change thinking in the culture of people when they're in the mindset that they're in, because people are stubborn, right? And even for yourself, as a project owner yourself, you can relate to this. Sometimes you're constantly questioning, what you can do to improve things or move the needle in one way or another. And it's easy to second guess yourself and think that you're not doing the right thing because you're not getting the results that you expect. But a lot of times you are doing the right thing and you don't realize it. And you just need to persist and keep doing it and keep pounding that same message. And eventually it will catch. It's important not to waver too much because you're trying to find the one thing that'll get you the traction that you're looking for. Organic traction is slow, and progress should be slow. That's healthy progress, right? Unhealthy progress is watching your group jump from 100 to 10,000 and your chart go up and down just as fast. That creates that in effect creates the sets the stage going forward. Like your first impressions are always the most important. And if your chart looks like shit and that's what you're showing people, and all they see is a big pump and dump, it creates a kind of a bad narrative that you have to explain. It's challenging to run a project. It's challenging to run a business. You have to get used to the word no, because you can't convince everybody to buy your product or service, right? Nobody's going to get 100%, not even close.
Yeah, like that's true, especially because people and the community, they are kind of expecting the same route for the same projects over and over again. So get your marketing done, get your AMAS round done, and then get your kind of launchpad done, and we are done.
Yeah.
This is what I faced, and this is why I am kind of coming with something different. Like I'm trying to really get in touch with the projects that got some sort of a future, and to trying to learn, because like why we should be paying over thousands towards some of the biggest market and communities and leaders in the BSC in order to gain people. Like, is this happening in real world that we are paying for some post from Elon Musk to tweet about our business that makes some
the funny
for
part
example? No.
Yeah, that actually does happen, though. The real world, a lot of the same stuff that we witness in the crypto space happens in the real world. That's where the inspiration comes from, right? So Elon Musk manipulates the crypto space as easily as he manipulates the market. Look at what he's doing with Twitter, right? I mean, he's totally got that whole company by the balls, right? And he's done that intentionally in a way that gets him more publicity, which gets him more sales, it's just a feedback loop for himself. Now, the one thing I'll say about Elon that I find the most interesting, because he is the richest person in the world, but you'll notice that nothing that he does actually puts products or services in people's hands immediately, but yet it takes the money from them immediately. So he pre-sales everything, his cars, his internet, he gets paid up front and then delivers 2, 3, 5 years later, right? If you're lucky, it seems. So he's literally, when they say that he's the richest person on the planet, I don't think anybody's really accounting for, well, what would it look like if he actually had to deliver on all the products and promises that he's made up to this point? How much would that affect his wealth? Have those costs even been considered? I don't know that they have. Right? I think that they look at the cash flow, they look at the amount of money that's on the books, and that's his wealth is just calculated the same way that the market cap is calculated. The same way you can have, $10,000 in liquidity, but your market cap is 10 million or 10 billion. It doesn't make any sense.
But
right?
there is a big trouble behind.
It's all a fabricated narrative.
And it is like the accountability. Like imagine how many haters, but both supporters, but for example, Elon Musk. Well, people love him and people hate him. And this keeps him from some sort of accountability for the doings, because the guys don't know. And this is the real world. Now, imagine, for example, being in one of the most influential groups in the Telegram space or the Twitter space, and running the marketing for others. Well, these guys are leaders, and they are learning the community how to act. And if they are some sort of an army, they are army because they were learned to be so. So this is like a very, very important point to do. Like we may be fighting the whole marketing waters, because I've been into marketing for some time, especially in crypto, and I know that the waters change quickly. For example, before the year it was popular that we are having the YouTube, and the YouTube were exploding. Then TikTok died, so we had Instagram died. So it is all different, it changes, but it follows always the same scheme. We got some leaders that are teaching people about projects and behavior. The behavior is key, and the behavior can be changed in let's say some sort of a mindfulness if you are strong enough to do so. But it is very hard to do like a whole society movement or thing, because we need to constantly be in touch with the people that are getting this mind wash, let's say.
I mean, people have to learn and understand that there's bad news, that things don't always go the way they should go, and that we need to manage our expectations. And that all comes from the way that we promote these things. When we say marketing, we're talking about Elon and how he shills things or how you shill things. I mean, you're both doing the exact same thing for the exact same reasons. The only difference is that he's got a bigger audience than you do potentially. Right? So he's able to have more sway and more influence. So people jump on a lot quicker. But the reality is that you're both working for your bag, right? All the things that he did with Dogecoin, all these, he feeds into that behavior. He literally drives the bad toxic behavior that we're talking about with his little tweets. I mean, there's literally tokens upon tokens based on just what Elon tweets. He tweets a word, he posts a picture, next thing you know, there's a token with that on it.
There is a question if it was created by Elon Musk, or if it was created by the people anticipating support from the Elon Musk.
It's the people that are doing it. But if you're Elon Musk, and you know that there's a certain behavior that people have started exhibiting that is based on what you're doing. So if you know that you're influencing this whole toxic environment, do you keep doing it or do you stop? Because to this point, he keeps going. Clearly, we can all see how wrong it is, what's happening, but he keeps going. He keeps doing it anyway.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like, if I were the leader and I had the temptation, and be sure that I've met a few of the leaders like early on, especially like the one that starts in G and T. We were friends like very, very early on, and they've turned like from a channel that valued their kind of listeners or people that the leaders had in the community, they turn to money, and the money is the thing that changes people. You may say that you know this guy, you know him from real life, you know that girl, you know this grandparent or it doesn't matter. The wealth and money change people.
Yeah.
And this is very, very hard to deal with. And you never know if you are a leader, if you are a project runner, if the money gonna spoil you. And this is very hard because we are facing that kind of every day. And I think the collapses of the free AC, also the collapse of the Celsius and Luna, this is why we are kind of watching this and perceiving through all the senses that there's something wrong. And it's all about what I got and what can I get more from such a situation. And if we are in a bear market, then some people are tempted toward this side and narrowing their kind of ethics, which is very wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned something that made me think about the conversation we had last weekend that led to this podcast, and that's got to do with loyalty, like customer loyalty from a business perspective, customer loyalty. There used to be a time, like in the 30s and 40s, and where you'd pull up to, the 50s, you'd pull up to a gas station, and it's literally like you're at a pit stop. You had like 3 to 4 to 5 people. Now this was before my day even, but this is something I'm aware of. That they would be cleaning your windshield and checking your tire pressure, checking your oil, topping up your gas. They did a lot to cater to the customer because they cared about customer loyalty, right? Banks and businesses knew you by your name. They did a lot to show customer appreciation and earn that loyalty. And that was something that a lot of businesses were proud of. And that's something that's gradually devolved into nothing but you're just a number. We're all just a number, right? Whether we're talking about us as customers, because we're all customers, or whether we're talking about us as investors, because we're all investors, right? It's whenever you go into a business, they want to. All they think about is to get you that sale. They don't even care about whether or not the product is good or not. Just getting that sale, right? This is what happens in the real world. So in the crypto space, I mean, it's the same. It's the exact same thing, right? They'll wrap it up. They'll get 3D graphic artists to make something pretty, and whatever. I mean, and they'll sell you something that they know is just nothing.
Yeah,
there's nothing there.
And especially like if you're feeding of the hype, for example, the version 2.0 of the tokens. Wow, like you don't need anything, just have a contract working from some. You
gotta be careful because you gotta be careful because there's definitely the need for version 2, version 3, version 4. Like the problem with smart contracts is that they're immutable. So if we're trying to learn and build better products, we have to be able to iterate, right? And if we launch a contract and it can't ever be changed, well, what if there's a problem? We have to fix it. There has to be some sort of way to fix it. So you have to migrate to a version 2 or a version 3 sometimes. Sometimes these things are required. But again, it's the way that these things are presented to the public and the way that the project managers or the owners set the tone of the project that matters. That's what drives behavior, right? Elon drives behavior by his actions, right?
Sure.
And that's very much the same thing that happens on many different scales in the crypto space and in the real world. So again, you and I as project owners, and we have to, I think it's kind of beholden to us if we expect this to really work, that we do things that make us more accountable, that make us connect to our communities in different ways, that force our communities to learn and to understand that, there are no shortcuts. If we want to build something successful, of anything of meaning, you got to be willing to put in the time. It just doesn't happen overnight. There are no shortcuts. If we want to build something successful, of anything of meaning, you got to be willing to put in the time. It just doesn't happen overnight. There's no way. Anybody that's trying to sell you that is lying to you, point blank.
Yeah, like kind of this whole project owners and project leaders. I think it might be a good theme for like the next episode of this podcast, to really talk about like what we can do as a project owners, and how to get this path to growth. Even there's a bear market, how to build. So well, I'm the host that kind of keep the things informational and at the same time we need to keep the attention span as it is a weekend with the community. So
Right.
guys, let's end this episode. I think we can agree that it was amazing time to talk about the topics. I think also a lot of people, despite this Saturday, joined us and listened, and I'm really glad that we've seen like the 100 mark on the VC, guys. So thank you for listening. This was a really exciting first podcast ever of ours. For the next time, we will try to bring also the leaders of some of the communities out there, especially the AMO lounges that are hosts. So we will try to get this outreach a bit bigger, but we feel strongly about these issues that needs to be talked about, and much more than talk about the casual AMAs to public, because we hear the same thing over and over again, but this is something different. So I want to thank again the F.A.T.E team. It was an amazing time. Congratulations to the winners of the current giveaway, and I will handle the word to the team to, let's say, summarize all of the experience, the last words, and we will end the recording and close the VC, and I think next week we can schedule the next podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you having us over here. It's been a great conversation. I think Vlad wants to say something. He's got his hand raised there.
Yeah, sure. Go on.
Oh yeah, no, thank you very much. Yeah, I also wanted to show my appreciation for this, and it's been amazing. We definitely need to do more of those podcasts as well, because there are interesting topics that we have to discuss, and we need to put our guns together and try to teach the people, try to be mentors for the crypto community, and teach them how to spot rugs, how to see bad projects, and first of all, how to invest and how to keep their mentality at sane when things go down, or how to stay focused when things go up. So thank you very much, and this is amazing to be a part of.
Good point, Slide. Yeah, that's great. And thanks again.
Yeah, guys. So I'm ending this recording. Be sure to join the F.A.T.E socials, check them out. This wasn't some sort of a marketing or promotional podcast or AMA. So if you are interested into what the founders are doing, just join the F.A.T.E and talk about. So guys, thank again. To all of you, have a great rest of the weekend. I think we've enjoyed. And in short, we will be announcing another collaboration. But at furthermore, I think that we can expect another podcast to have by the next week. And this was like really lovely. Thank you for joining us today, despite it's like weekend. So take a great time and have a rest of the weekend. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Take care.
Goodbye.